And it goes beyond flying, how you interact with others, how you interact every day, and how do you get the most out of life for yourself.
Hi, and welcome back to Extraordinary Pilots. That clip that you heard at the beginning of the program is a young man by the name of Hunter Linder. He's 27 years old and an extraordinary pilot. He's got a personal story of what he does to become extraordinary, the process that he's engaged in every time he flies. I think you're going to enjoy this conversation and enjoy getting to know Hunter Linder. Thanks for joining me. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Tell me about being extraordinary. What does that mean?
To me, it's about, man, that's a tough question to begin with.
Yeah, I thought I'd start with the big ones.
What does it mean to be extraordinary? I mean, part of the word extraordinary is being ordinary. It's something to me that can be done every day and should be done every day. And it is required to be done every day if you want it to be extraordinary. Brings further purpose to my life, and if others notice it, it's a fantastic endeavor to go on.
So tell me how you would be extraordinary in your corporate jet with passengers on board.
Well, I believe it's a culmination of things, but one of the most important things to me about being extraordinary is what's important right now in this moment. It centers myself as far as the moment at the time. If we're not on the departure yet or not on the arrival yet, but we're on the ground, just still preparing for the flight, what can we do to make it truly an extraordinary experience for the folks in the back? If we're sitting on the ramp and I notice a low angle on the sun and it's shining in the windows, I might lower the shades on one side of the aircraft so it doesn't blind the passengers when they sit down and I'm trying to give them a safety briefing. I mean, just that level of detail goes across all phases of flight every day from beginning of duty till shutdown.
Where in the hell did that come from for you?
Well, this will be my shameless plug, but your book, Heartful Flying, absolutely. It's a whole process as far as a new way of approaching flying. And it goes beyond flying, how you interact with others, how you interact every day, and how do you get the most out of life for yourself.
So you're in a corporate jet, you've got passengers in the back, some of them rich, some famous, some both, and you're trying to do things in a higher level, at a higher level, I should say. What would that mean? How would you do that?
Oddly enough, even though the folks I fly are rich and famous, or as you said, sometimes both, in a sense, I almost treat them like I would treat anybody else. And the way I would treat anybody else is how I would treat the rich and famous. It kind of goes hand in hand to each other. I think it's all about giving an individualized experience for every flight you take these folks on. It doesn't matter if I've flown the folks 10 times, the 11th time I fly them, it's going to be a different experience. All for the better, of course, but it's not going to be the same minutia, same exact safety briefing. It's going to be particular to the context of the flight. Are they going on vacation? Are they going to a business meeting? Are they going to a funeral? It's all going to depend on where we're going.
So break that down for us so that we understand. What would you do differently if you were extraordinary as a pilot? What would you do to make that ride really great for somebody in the back? And what if they don't notice? You can answer that one too.
To make it extraordinary, it takes time. It takes a lot of patience. My goal when I'm flying anybody is I want them to forget that we're even flying. I want them to feel like they're sitting in a chair like we are this morning. That they don't notice when we turn, they don't notice when we climb, descend, or even a change in the tune of the engines in the back. I don't want them to notice at all. And in that, you're being smooth with the plane. When you're smooth with the plane, you're engaging the passenger in the back, you're engaging all 5 of their senses. And when you can free up those senses for those individuals, it's an easier day for them. So much as, we have a VNAV profile coming up, about to march downhill on an arrival. We got a big tailwind. Sometimes the nose of the plane pushes over, not extremely by any means, but you notice it. You feel a little bit of a lightness in the seat. So it takes time to push the nose over, but if you do it before you get to that point where it's going to do it on its own, maybe just nudging over some vertical speed, 100 feet per minute, 200, slowly. It takes time, but they'll never notice.
So what you're doing is you're engaging more fully.
Yes, I'm being present in the moment.
Yeah, and that allows you to see, for example, the readout on the DME that says We're getting pretty close to the top of descent.
We got 100 knots on the tail.
And we got a big blow behind us, so we're going to be coming down like a banshee. And the VNAV is going to do a good job of getting you to the spot. It just may not be as smooth as you're asking for,
Exactly.
right? Okay. So you've given it an extra something. I mean, it's pretty much a brand new jet that you're flying, and it'll do the best that any VNAV will do.
Does a good job.
But humans, when they intercept that and try to make it a little smoother, a little bit more, or I should say a little less obvious when you're changing attitude, that's part of that extraordinary process for you.
Absolutely.
What does it mean when we talk about extraordinary? We try to figure out a way to kind of get a little deeper in the system, raise the bar a bit, as they say. How do you do that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do believe it's important to follow SOPs and all procedures prescribed by the company or whoever you fly for, even if it's for yourself, your own personal minimums. But going the extra mile, you fly, like, let's say an older couple, and they probably don't have the strength in their hands like they used to anymore. And when you give them a water, you make sure to crack it open for them so they're not struggling with it and have to embarrassingly ask you, hey, son, can you please?
Right.
I'm a little bit older here. So I think it's also an anticipation of needs for the owners. And when you guess correctly or you anticipate right, that's when it gets noticed of being extraordinary.
Mm-hmm. So would you say that has something to do with emotional intelligence?
Absolutely.
What does that mean with that extraordinary level of service to someone? You're asking more of yourself, more of your crew, more of your airplane?
I think it's all of the above.
Okay.
I mean, wiggling the stick smoothly in a plane is one thing, but having the emotional intelligence to be able to read people and know what they expect and know what they want and being able to achieve that form without it being actually communicated to us as the crew is what really gets you in tune with everything and everybody.
Does it have something to do with you too? Your emotional intelligence,
Absolutely.
Your awareness of self?
Yeah, it does. I often try to put myself in individual shoes, especially when we know what the context of the flight is. Like I said earlier, if it's a funeral, a party, vacation, business meeting, I try to put myself, okay, I'm a businessman today and I'm sitting in this seat. What do I expect?
Okay.
And I try to sympathetically, or it's more empathetically, think of what they would want.
Okay. So, and do you see the results of that from your passengers? Do you get something back for that?
Sometimes.
Yeah. What do you get?
Usually it's just remarks. If it was a smooth flight, and thankfully if there's no turbulence or anything to ruin any artfulness of the actual, smooth flying, sometimes you'll get comments of, man, you treated that plane like it was your baby. And it's like, no, I treated it like it was your plane because it is. I mean, personally, I always try to fly every plane like I would own it, even though I don't have to pay for tires or brakes or fuel or oil or any of the expendables. I'd be out of business.
Yeah. Pretty quick.
Yeah, but it's better for everybody in doing so.
Mm-hmm. And what if you don't get that accolade or that attaboy or that whatever feedback from your passengers?
I think that's one of the fun things about trying to be an extraordinary pilot is if they notice, great, that's another gift for me to take. But if not, I know in my heart I did everything in my power to be present in the moment and go the extra mile. And in doing so, that's a gift in and of itself.
And it's a gift to you.
A gift to me, yeah. It's almost selfish, really.
Yeah.
But it provides purpose to my life. I mean, it's my life after all.
You're living in your body.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, one of the cool things about this, I think, is we end up really realizing that it's all about us in some ways. And that spills over very readily to the rest of the world and to the people around us. When you sit in the front of an airplane with another crew member, we end up with an opportunity to kind of share that process and share that joy.
Truly.
So what do you take away from this conversation with Hunter Linder? Well, there's a couple things that stood out for me. One of them is he's very aware of time. He's very aware of being present with the airplane in this moment. That's a big deal. That is a foundational part of being extraordinary as a pilot. Another thing he talked about is what's important now. I call that winning. Winning means the things that are important right now mean nothing in 12 seconds or an hour and a half ago. He also talks about having patience. For example, to be a smooth pilot takes patience because smoothness occurs over time. It doesn't happen immediately. This is not an aerobatic routine, right? So there's a time element to that as well. Another thing he was talking about was being engaged, fully engaged in the process of flying. Not just showing up, getting the job done, getting the people or the freight or the airplane from A to B. It's really engaging in the process of flying that airplane well. What did you take away from this conversation? Maybe you could tell me in the comments section. Hope you enjoyed this. We're going to have Hunter back in a future episode because he's got more to share. Come back and see us soon. Thanks for joining us.